everybody. I'm Cassidy, one of your Indianapolis Colts cheerleaders, and you're watching the Believe in Colts podcast.
Welcome back to Believe in Colts. I'm Lawrence Owen. With me, as usual, are my guys Jerraud Powers and Rodney McLeod. And with us for just a moment is a very special guest, someone who also has close ties with our new Indianapolis Colts head coach, Shane Steichen. Please welcome Brandon Graham, defensive end for the Philadelphia Eagles. Brandon, appreciate you coming on here, giving us your thoughts about the new head coach for the Indianapolis Colts. If there was anything that you could share with us about the new head coach, any stories or thoughts about, how he conducts his business or anything of that nature, really appreciate it, man.
Well, man, he's high energy, man. He's gonna come in smart guy. Man, I'm excited for him because I met his family. We had some good times over the year. We had fun, friendly bets during the year, and when you can have them little fun bets, like when we had competition in practice and stuff like that, and you talking to the offensive side, and they coming to you and like, man, we bet same bet as last week, push ups, whatever, like. That just don't happen all the time where you talk to like the coordinators and always talking to your side a lot, so it was cool to really connect with him and know that he got our best interest at heart, especially for the year, because I really felt like he put his heart into it, man, and I was excited for him getting a job. He's somebody that's definitely gonna bring a lot of electric plays to you guys. We said that we got to let him go because you know how it go. When you do good in this league and as a coach, that's your window of opportunity, and I'm happy he got it. But yeah, man, y'all got y'all a smart coach, man. I'm excited to see how he handles the room now that he's the guy. Because you know how it goes. Sometimes I don't think the room too big, because last year with him being on that team, we had a lot of big personalities he had to deal with, and he made it work with them guys. So you headed in the right direction when you do that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for giving us your insights on the Shane Steichen, and I won't take any more of your time. Appreciate you coming on here, and have a great day and a good off season, man.
Thank you, man. Anytime.
All right, BG.
All right.
That was Brandon Graham, and I just want to remind everybody that even though this is the off season for the NFL, BetOnline still remains your number one source for all your sports betting this season. Not just NFL, but baseball, basketball, hockey, doesn't matter what it is. They are the guys to go to. You'll always find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. BetOnline features live betting, free contests, live scores for almost any sport or game imaginable. We're the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite leagues and events. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your rewards. Bet Online, where the game starts. Well, guys, we got some really good news, at least in my opinion, yesterday. First off, Reggie Wayne announced, obviously, that he will be sticking around as the wide receivers coach under Shane Steichen, which kind of, under normal circumstances with a new head coach, is a bit of a shocker. Especially when, he's an offensive coach and he's been bringing in his own guys as of late. And then, of course, Gus Bradley being retained as the defensive coordinator. It'll be interesting to see how his staff is, who stays and who's going to be put together with maybe new opportunities. But Jerraud, how are you doing today, man?
Oh, I'm good. No complaints. Happy to be here. How about you guys?
Rodney?
I'm blessed, man. It's another day. Woke up, so I'm grateful, and yeah, just excited to be here,
Absolutely. So let's jump in real quick to the Reggie Wayne thing. I was personally, as much as I wanted Reggie to stick around, I didn't think he was going to. I thought for sure Shane was going to be bringing some guys over. And then I saw a tweet from Nick Sirianni, right, stating that Shane surely wanted to bring some of his guys from Philly on the offense over to Indianapolis, staff-wise, but Sirianni said it's his job to keep all the good coaches around in Philly. So I don't know if that had any kind of any impact on who Shane was able to bring over or not. But Jerraud, you know Reggie Wayne very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about Reggie sticking around with Shane Steichen?
Oh, I love it. And you know, the part I love most about it is last year Reggie, you know, had the toughest job probably on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, it was a lot of questions when it came to the wide receiver room, and you know, you got a bunch of young guys. You was looking for some guys to kind of rise up to the challenge and kind of take over the room. And I thought Reggie did a good job of handling that. So why not, you know, retain or keep, you know, a guy that kind of started to jail in that room, and you know, a big piece of getting these guys to where they're at now. I think it brings some comfort when your players know that they got their same position coach coming back, and the continuity and the chemistry and all those little things that matters once the season hits. You know, those guys are gonna have that going into the off season, OTAs, summer ball, camp, and all those type things. You ain't got to worry about trying to figure out the new coach and what he likes and what he expects and his expectations, and the different ways that he likes to, you know, run this route or do these type of things. You know exactly, you know, how Reggie wants it done and the expectation level that he wants it done at. So I like it. And then on top of it, everybody knows Reggie's a household name in Indy. So I know it was kind of a shocker to see you know, a position coach announced that he's coming back. But when you're talking about Reggie Wayne, the entire Colt fan base was probably excited to hear or see that. So it's a little different scenario when you're talking about Reggie in the coach building. I mean, we're talking about a Ring of Honor guy. So
Absolutely, absolutely. And Rodney, you know Reggie Wayne from a different aspect. You know, defensive side. Plus, you knew him now also as the coach Reggie Wayne, rather than just the wide receiver Reggie Wayne. What are your thoughts about Reggie Wayne and him sticking around and what you saw from him? I know you probably didn't have a lot of interaction with him during the season and preseason and stuff, but did you have any interaction with him at all, or anything you want to talk about with that?
I think Reggie Wayne is a great guy to add to, you know, any coaching staff. You know, of course, you know who he was as a player, you know, speaks volumes, but especially to this Colts community. But within the locker room, right? You know, you have somebody who has built a legacy there. You know, who has been a part of, you know, Super Bowl runs and been a part of winning teams, right? And so he knows exactly what it takes to win. But he brings, you know, all of the things that made him who he was, right? And he's really now pouring that back into that receiver room. You know, you saw Paris Campbell have, you know, one of his, you know, best careers, you know, to date. A lot had to do, of course, with him being healthy, and he has all the abilities. But then you add Reggie Wayne, somebody with a great, you know, football IQ, someone who has, you know, demands excellence from that group. You know, it's something as small as being on time for a special teams walkthrough, right? And not just being on time though. You know, he's asking them to be there 5 minutes ahead, right? Like those are the type of things that, and the standard and expectations that he's setting within that room that I was able to witness from afar. But then also in hearing it, you know, from, you know, that room and guys, and seeing their growth throughout the year, and seeing how he coaches that room. For me, it's, you know, it's a no-brainer, and it makes perfect sense and why they decided to bring, you know, him back.
So Reggie's if I am remembering correctly, Reggie's a really a detail guy, right, Jerraud? I mean, he's
oh,
someone
very.
that focuses on that. Is there anything you can talk about with your experiences in the past playing against him, opposite him, on the same team, about, you know, the details that he works on so much?
I mean, he just understands it's the little small things that, you know, can cost you a game or make you lose a game. So when Rodney say that he has a standard and an expectation of, you know, guys get into the meeting rooms or get into the practice field 10 minutes, 5 minutes early to do something extra to help them win the game, he understands that matters. I mean, my time with Reggie, my 4 years in Indy, just watching him and Peyton and Dallas Clark and Robert Mathis and all these great guys. It wasn't the fact that they were just skillfully great, which they were. You know, they did every little thing that matters well. They did it, you know, at the highest level, whether it's walkthrough, being locked in, taking every rep as a game rep, whether that's taking care of their body. Reggie never missed a game or a practice outside of when he tore his ACL. I mean, he literally never missed a practice. And everybody knows once you get a certain age, you know, owners, GMs, coaches, they give you a bone. Hey, you can miss on Fridays. Hey, you ain't got to do Wednesday practice or whatever the case is. Reggie was a guy that always felt that if he messed up his routine and the routine that he was accustomed to was going to work every day, if he missed a day, he wouldn't feel right on Sunday. So it's just little stuff like that that he brings to the table. And when he has a young room and a young group that's trying to figure it out, you know, nobody's in that room has really established themselves as I guess a household name yet. Far as in the wide receiver room, we got some guys that's close or maybe that's about to merge and become a household name, but you got a bunch of guys that's still trying to figure it out, still trying to soak every ounce of knowledge they possibly can. And Reggie is the right man for it. I mean, he'll have those guys playing at a high level this year for sure.
Absolutely. Rodney Jerraud talked about back in the day when he was playing with Reggie that he would talk to guys about, you know, hey, what did I do wrong here? What did I do to tip off what I was, you know, what route I was running or whatnot like that. Is he coaching that way? Do you ever see him go to the defensive side of the ball during practice and ask questions or something of that nature? Or is he too concerned with departing the knowledge he already has onto these young players? I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of interaction on, you know, between the coaching staffs on both sides of the ball, you know, particularly Reggie Wayne and our DB coach, Milo. And so, you know, those two, you know, will go back and forth. I see Reggie talking to Gus, you know, Bradley often. And I think everybody's, you know, utilizing the knowledge, right, that both sides have. And how do we get better as a team? That's what it's all about, you know, iron sharpening iron. And so, yeah, those are the type of conversations that they were sharing. But also, you know, to Jerraud's point, you know, you can just see the detail and how he emphasizes that regularly, you know, with that group of guys over there. Everything from you know, depth of route to especially one-on-ones that we used to do often. You know, you see him immediately, soon a receiver coming back, he's already giving them on the field critiques about what he saw, right, to hopefully improve for the next rep, you know, that comes, right? And it's all about getting better. We talk about 1% better, and he does place a huge emphasis on that, and is committed to that.
Oh, okay. Well, flip the script here and talk about the other side of the ball. Gus Bradley being announced that he's going to be retained. Honestly, I didn't know what to expect from the offseason before Steichen was hired. There was news that came out that, you know, Gus Bradley was being blocked from interviews for other teams because some of the guys that were interviewing for the head coaching position were willing to have Gus stick around, but we were never told if Shane was one of those guys that were interviewed that was willing to keep Gus Bradley around. I'm going to start with you, Rodney, since you know Gus the best out of all of us. What are your thoughts about Gus Bradley sticking around with the Indianapolis Colts for another year under the new head coach and the new regime?
Yeah, I like the move they made to keep Gus. You know, like I've spoke about, you know, a couple pods ago, you know, the fact that, you know, Gus is a great coach, right? He's, you know, not only been a head coach, he's been a defensive coordinator, has coached some of the best defenses, you know, in the league. And, last year for a good portion of that, we were another one of those defenses under Gus. And so you have to like the fact that, there's familiarity there, there's comfortability there between players and coaches, and more importantly, the scheme, right? Now, coming into year 2 underneath, his scheme, there's just, so much, I guess, release that does for a player, stress free, and the fact that you kind of now have an understanding in how things should be run. Where do I need to be? You now, have a good idea of also the locker room and your teammates within the scheme. So I think it was a great move to bring him back. It's not broke, then no need to fix it, right? And so when I look at what we were able to do last year defensively, I like the move to bring Gus back.
Awesome. Jerraud, what'd you see from Gus this past season?
Just to piggyback off what Rodney said, whenever you got a returning coordinator as a player and you just been through a system the first time, it's a comfort level that you have going into the off season, getting ready to go back and start OTAs and summer ball and all that. You're not on the I guess the thinking wave of not knowing the unsure. Like now you know exactly what Gus likes, what he don't likes. You know how he coaches. You know his personality. You know his wife. You know his kids. You know all these other things that you didn't even get a chance to you didn't have a chance to know or experience, during that first year, because the only thing that mattered was learning the playbook. Like, man, I got to learn this playbook. I got to know my job, my responsibilities, where he wants me at, what he don't want me to do, all those type of things. So like you said, when you're coming into it for the second year, you're almost relieved. Like Rodney said, it's almost a stress-free feel because this your second go at it. You know the terminology, you know his expectations, you know the things that pisses him off, you know the things that's not going to piss him off. Like, all these other intricates that matters when it comes to building your defense and chemistry and knowing your role and your job and all those things, that I'm happy that they kept him, because when you look at our defense, we have pieces in play. We got guys that know what they're doing and that can ball and play at a high level. So for those guys to return and be in the second year in the system, you expect, like Rodney said, how good we look for most of the year, you expect that to go to even another level, just off of the comfort of knowing the playbook inside and out.
So I got a question for both of you guys. There was, there's a little bit of a difference between, what was here 2 years ago under Matt Eberflus, what was here last year under Gus Bradley. And some players performed differently that were here between both those, those two coordinators. And the excuse of scheme fit has came up quite a bit. Is that a thing? Is that a situation where, especially since both of you guys are the back end of a defense, does scheme play a big role on how effective you are when you're able to play on the backside?
Yeah, I think. Oh, go ahead, Rodney. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was saying, yeah, I think it does play. It does have an impact, on players and their performance. But I think, like anything else, man, I think the good thing about, what we just spoke about is the understanding, right, and the knowledge that both sides now have, right? We know everything about Gus Bradley and the rest of that staff, everything from schematics to personality to expectations to standards to presentations, right? Like we have a good idea and energy level, all those things, right? And I think the same is now, they could say the same and understand what they exactly have, right, from every player within that locker room and on that defense. So I think now, the coaches who are able to also make, the proper adjustments or build their scheme around the strengths, right, of their players, really takes your defense to the next level. And I think that's just like, that's on offense too. You see a lot of coordinators also tailoring the way that their offensive plays based on around the quarterback, right? You think of all of these, running quarterbacks that we have, dual threat quarterbacks, and how that is an added addition to a playbook that you have to add that layer, right? Because that puts pressure now on, the defense. And so I think the same thing is going to be required for, as a defensive coordinator, as you look at your roster and how it's built, going into this year, you say, okay, how does my scheme help, elevate or bring out the best in these guys? What positions can I put them in, right? Where can I tweak here and there, but still keep the integrity of my scheme, but be able to, also play towards my players' strengths.
No, I agree. I agree. I think the best coaches and players, like the best coaches, are able to adjust their scheme without, like Rodney said, changing the integrity of it and putting their players in position to do what they do best. Whether you got a guy that might be great at man coverage, you might be in a zone scheme, so you might have certain little ways of changing certain calls to put this guy in more of a man-to-man type of a feel or situation, even though it might be a zone type call. And then as a player, once you get into the pros as a professional, I honestly believe as a player, you should be able to adapt to whatever scheme you're playing in, because if you wasn't good enough to play in the NFL, you wouldn't be here. You don't see everybody just playing man to man, every single down possible, and then they can't play cover 2 or cover 4, and vice versa. I mean, I guess one of the examples I can use is you look at somebody like Patrick Peterson. His whole entire career, he was looked at as a lockdown, man-to-man guy. He don't want to play zone, whatever the case may be. And then he goes to Minnesota, and this past year had one of his best seasons ever. And they play more of a, multiple coverage type thing, to where it's just not man-to-man. He might be in quarters, he might be in 3, or whatever the case may be. You look at Richard Sherman, who goes from in Seattle. He went from, he's just a cover 3 corner, to he went to Tampa Bay under Coach Todd's system, which is a man-to-man defense, and had a good year his year at Tampa Bay. So I think it's all about players willing to adjust, but it's also with coaches willing to adjust their system as well and put guys in position to do what they do best.
Awesome. So,
yeah.
Rodney, last year with the Indianapolis Colts and Gus Bradley, was there ever situations where, now I assume that in-game adjustments happen often in the NFL on the defensive side?
Yeah.
You have maybe a story or an anecdote or something of that nature from last year where, where you could bring something like that up, where you walked in with this game plan and then something completely different happened and Gus changed the system on it?
Yeah, I mean, that happens regularly, to be honest. Every time you go back to the sideline, you're looking at the plays, that just occurred, whether you got beat on a play or not, right? Because what tends to happen is those formations are going to repeat itself, right? And you want to be able to now say, hey, the next time you run that, you run this play, I'm going to take full advantage of my opportunity, right? And be in the right position. So those type of conversations are happening often. But I remember specifically like the Tennessee game, we kind of came in with a specific game plan, and it's the first one. And towards, I think, going into maybe the second, probably going into like half, and then third quarter, we made the adjustment and start running a lot more man-to-man. Just felt, one, we can get a lot more stingier in the run defense. And then 2, we felt overly confident in just our matchups that we had out there, our defensive backs versus, their skill group of receivers and tight ends. So Gus was able to make that adjustment, and we kind of had a little rally where we were able to close, the gap. Unfortunately, we didn't win, but we saw, a huge difference in one, getting them behind the sticks, and us really dictating and controlling that the game defensively once we made that in-game adjustment.
Okay. Do you remember, Jerraud? I know it was a few years ago, but do you remember a specific instance where a situation like that happened with you in a game?
not to that in particular, but I remember like Todd Bowles after the second possession of every game we played, he would come to me and Pat and he would ask like, "Hey, can you handle your matchup?" Because he used to give you matchups at the beginning of the week. Hey, JP, you got Tavon Austin, Pat, you got, Calvin Johnson, or whatever the case may be. After the second series, he would come to us and be like, how's the matchup? Can you handle him? Can you do this? And he would adjust the game plan based off what we tell him. Like, it might be something like, hey, this dude faster than what I thought. I might need, a little bit over the top action or, whatever the case may be. And without changing the whole formality of, the game plan of what we worked on all week, he would just have little changes within his calls of how we play it. And like I said, that's what make, great coaches great. They're able to adjust on the fly and do whatever you got to do to help the players succeed, the most. And those were the coaches that I kind of benefit from the most. The ones that if I came to them with a concern or a problem or, hey, Bose, no, we got this one in the bag. You can call what you want to call. He would do that. Hey, all right, I'm going to leave you on the island by yourself since you said you can handle that matchup. Now I'm about to put these 8, 9 in the box or do whatever I got to do to stop the run. So those are some of the moments I remember just having a coach able to adjust just to help me succeed during the course of the game.
Awesome. Yeah. And Gus is one of those guys. He's very receptive, to guys coming up to him, willingness to listen, hear you out, but also will come up to you, whether it's in a Wednesday practice, how you liking the coverage, how you feeling about it, or whether, like Jerraud said, in the game as well, or, at whatever point in time. So it's good when you can have that open relationship between player and coach.
Absolutely. So I think that's going to do it for this episode of Believe in Colts. Got some insight, a little bit of information about Reggie Wayne and Gus Bradley, and a quick shout out to Brandon Graham for coming in at the beginning and giving his thoughts on the Colts' new head coach, Shane Steichen. This was Believe in Colts, brought to you by Bet Online with myself, Jerraud Powers, and Rodney McLeod. And until next time, as usual, go Colts.
Do you believe?